Good morning, LinkedIn. Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Let's Build HubSpot Websites with Anton. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Finally, a series dedicated to my favorite HubSpot topic. I know it took me a while to get here, but we're here now. I think websites in HubSpot right next to the CRM is one of you know, a few like just like 100% differentiator between like HubSpot platform and other options you have for your website. So excited to have you on. Um, and today, we're starting with the basics with a common conversation that we usually have to have when we're bringing people from WordPress or anywhere else. Like if you're paying for HubSpot CMS, like you got to understand this part first. Which part is that, Anton?
Uh, I would say it's the themes, templates, and modules. So basically, all of your building blocks inside the HubSpot CMS or HubSpot Content Hub. So when you start with HubSpot, or when you start with building your website on HubSpot, or you just want to migrate from X to HubSpot, mm, it's, I would say, necessary to understand what is what, right? And personally, I think that when you speak to a developer and he's like, yeah, you have themes, you have templates, you have modules, you have variables, whatever, right? It's their terminology, it's okay. And if you're not familiar with those terms, don't worry. Mm, because in the end, you can understand them, but my personal approach to describe it to people who are not in the dev world, I would say, is if you can compare mm, a theme to a house or an apartment. It's up to you. And or better to say, your website is a house, okay? And templates are like the building blocks or the floor plan, so to say. And modules, basically, you can say it's the furniture you put in. So you buy or build a house. Mm, if you're building it, you go to an architect, you create a floor plan, and then you go to a furniture store and you decide, okay, we want this couch in blue or green or black. It's completely up to you, right? So this is how I would describe themes, templates, and modules to anybody who isn't familiar with code and don't want to dive all too deep into the whole code thing. But
Yeah, which is one of the
again,
reasons
yeah,
why, we might want to build in HubSpot instead of somewhere else is the lower
mm,
amount of code and development work.
right.
Yeah, I love that analogy because as you're describing it, it's like you might have different experiences in the rooms
Yeah,
of the house, like which leads us to, like templated pages. But like in each room, you're gonna have the same style of like doorknob and
exactly.
trim and doors and even down to the maybe the outlets, right? The way they
Yeah.
look, all those are gonna be the same. And that's really the power of themes. And if you this is why I love the challenging conversation related to why a migration from
Hmm.
anywhere else into HubSpot, like
Yeah.
you should not try to make that like just click a button. Like there's a reason you can't just click a button. Like, and people have
Yeah.
developed tools to be able to do this,
Hmm.
but it's still a bad idea because you're going from this. non-theme place into HubSpot,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And if you don't take the time to think about this stuff first, right? Like the migration,
Exactly.
it's like you shouldn't
Yeah.
even be migrating to HubSpot if that's what you want to do, in my opinion. How often do you run into that?
Pretty off. So, I mean, it's like download a theme, buy a theme, whatever, or use a default theme because HubSpot comes with default themes, which are a great start, a great baseline. Mm, and you can do a lot, really a lot in the default themes and marketplace themes. You can do a lot, right? But if we stick to this terminology of housings or real estates, um, there are some limitations. I mean, of course, you can change a doorknob or the outlet design. It's possible, right? And you can and should change all the furniture, all the tech you have in your house and whatsoever. But it becomes quite a, a, a topic if you decide to, hey, I want to remove the whole wall, right? If you have a house, it might be easier than in an apartment, but it's a lot more work, right? And therefore, if people or companies don't plan things out first, it can be a challenge in the long term, right? So if for just an example, you just bought a house and you've never been there, you have never seen a floor plan. I mean, for what reason ever. And you go to a store and you buy a 6 meter long dining table. The percentage of that it will fit into your house, yeah, it
That's a
might
long
work out.
that's a long dining table.
Yeah, I know. And so planning is the way to go, right? And I mean, you don't have to understand how a developer thinks because I know both words because I'm a developer, I'm a designer, or I love building websites in general. So I know, or at least I would say that I know uh how things work together, right? And you have to plan ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like to kind of complete the analogy before we move on to like templates and modules,
Yeah.
like so an apartment, an apartment that's fully furnished where you can just walk in and it's ready to go. That reminds me of like the website builders that you just pick a
Hmm.
template and
Yeah.
you're happy with the outcome. A lot of platforms, uh, I've been surprised like in the like the spa and salon space. There's places you can go where it's just like this is my business, and then they create, the website experience for you, and it's a great experience for what you need, very use case specific, but also like you can't customize anything. Like
Yeah.
maybe if you're lucky, you can talk to the landlord and move something around, but unlikely. Like you're not even allowed to put the holes in the walls sometimes, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and then, but on the other side of that, we have like WordPress and just the blank slate builders, which are like, we built our house in the country.
Yeah.
We have the water well over here. We're responsible for our own electricity. Like, we're responsible for everything. And while that might be the way that some people like it and they've always grown up in that mindset, it's harder to, you know,
Mm.
grow and spend time on other things. Like you got to work to
Exactly.
maintain and services might be hard to get help with. And then in the middle, we have maybe some suburban living where you go and
Right.
build a house. You have a few templates to choose from. You can customize a little bit, but now once you're there, like all these utilities are taken care of. Sometimes like you're in a housing association and you don't have to worry about the lawn, things like that. And if you
Yeah.
want to focus on other parts of your life, you can do that while not focusing on, maintenance. And I'm actually surprised at how well this analogy is working because
Yeah.
maintenance is one of the reasons that you usually move into HubSpot because you don't have to worry. This is if you do it right, right?
Yeah.
That like if you do, there are people who are willing to just migrate without a plan. And you can forget about all the themes and you can just paste the code in there.
Yeah.
And then you're not taking advantage of any of the reasons, right?
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Usually it's, we want some scalability. We're growing a
Mm,
lot and we need to be able
yeah.
to scale like the development of our website. We don't want to worry about maintenance and security while
Mm,
we do that. Maybe included in that, we want to empower other people to help with website content. But then number three is the personalization, like the
yeah.
personalized website experience, right? Those are
Mm,
the three
yeah.
things. And when you remove these building blocks, like you will not get any, you'll still get the security, but you basically won't get anything else, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's basically like that, as easy as it gets. And from my experience, it all depends on what you are looking for or what the company is looking for. Because if you want more flexibility, you can have that, or you want an extreme consistency, right? And this is also possible. And everything in between those two options is also possible. So therefore, plan ahead. And I mean, we all know the big W out there. And I would, I would say that almost everybody who's familiar or working in the internet has created at least one page or website in WordPress. And you know how challenging it can be because you have to make sure that updates go through. You have to do backups. You have to keep an eye on SEO, performance. There are a lot of bullets on this list. And I mean, with HubSpot, it's easier because you don't have to worry about updates. You don't have to worry about backups. You can focus yourself completely on the creation process or the personalization process you've just mentioned. And also in the personalization bubble, I would say, there are a lot of possibilities as well, right? Because HubSpot comes with the smart content option, which is, I would say, kind of like a CRM based personalization of your website. And this is a huge feature.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um,
And like, I think it'd be good to, like, if you could share your screen
yeah,
and we start to talk about, like,
yeah,
this foundation of,
yeah.
uh,
So, I mean, there are two types of building experience, I would say. So there is, let me look for this. Yeah.
this is
Okay.
where we become the really annoying person
Yeah.
and we're saying like, no, I need you to say templates if you mean this and
Yeah.
themes if you mean this. Like,
Yeah.
please stop interchanging those words. Right?
Exactly. So back in the days, and a lot of people might not be familiar with this, but this was the building experience a few years ago, which worked great, right? So you just have boxes, you can drag and drop them, you can group them, and so on. right? And those things, I would call them, uh, were called templates. And the terminology kept the same, I would say. Uh, so templates are like your floor plan, right? And I know Dennis will be a bit stressed right now. But okay. Mm,
We're here to help, Dennis,
right.
for sure. So,
A blast from the
so,
past. You're right.
so
Uh,
my, so does that mean? Because I know a major change was like in 2020
yeah,
when they created the, the
themes.
basic
Yeah.
level and free levels of CMS. Is that when themes became a thing?
So themes were published as a beta or were a beta in 2020. And then I think in 21 they were fully released and they still getting updates almost weekly, I would say. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of updates coming from HubSpot and the updates are great. Mm, so those templates still work, uh, but you might want to consider updating it to themes because um, you you are missing out so much saving in terms of time and stress, whatever. And themes are, I would say, developer only because themes, so we see this layout and themes just to show you the base file of a theme that I just have in my dev account. Mm, it's most likely plain HTML, so maybe some of you might be familiar with it, but HubSpot comes with its own programming language called Hubble, and those are the curly braces or whatever you want to call it. And you can define just your own building blocks here. So for instance, I can we see that actually? Let me check that
So
out.
just to
And
clarify, like the building of a theme,
yeah,
the design of a theme is where you need a developer. But when done right, or when done well, and this is like, what are your goals for the website? There's a lot of great themes. Like if you don't have access to developer resources, that there is a theme marketplace from
yeah,
free to, thousands of dollars to take what's already been done. And in those cases, it's really the question of, do I need like 80% of what I want? Do I need 90,
yeah,
95%? Right? There's a lot of
right,
opportunities to find that. Uh,
exactly,
then understanding that when we talk about theme settings and things like that, it's should be, not always, but the best themes create non-code ways to help manage that stuff over
right,
time.
right. And I mean, as you've said, the great themes have workarounds to make the code editable through non-code, I would say, right? So, um, I mean, I've created a lot of code in the last couple of years because most times I create custom themes for every company, and The marketplace that you've just mentioned, Chris, is located here. So if you click on this house icon and go to template marketplace, you will find all sorts of already pre-built themes to download or buy.
Yeah. Can
There's
you
a
click on that and open
yeah,
it in a new tab?
yeah, new
Uh,
tab. One sec. Um, I
Assuming you
think
might want to talk about that stuff too.
I
But
think
yeah, like Dennis mentioned, uh, when you're using this stuff, it's definitely a great idea. Like the more access you have to a developer really related to any tool in HubSpot right now,
hmm
like uh it's good. It's a good thing. Uh and he mentions with our analogy as a homeowner, you can do it yourself so far, but eventually you need an electrician, right?
yeah,
And this is where uh unfortunately, HubSpot is good at not helping when it comes to language and the nuance of the words that we're using. So you go to the HubSpot template marketplace and then underneath, oh man, I didn't even notice. I'm just noticing this now. Underneath your options are themes and modules.
yeah,
Uh, so if we click on themes and uh, let's just I need to shout out the theme that's been good to me so far. So if we can find Clean Pro, uh,
yeah.
that's a
I know
that's a
that.
theme I like to work with. Um, because as you and again, this is where a lot of resources are available to you to understand how these building blocks work, right? So if you scroll down, it tells you like um, it includes these things, right? And it's usually
Yeah,
talking you through the functionality. And right here we have pages and page templates and modules, right? So that's usually where I'm looking when I'm thinking about a theme and maybe there's one available that's more use case specific. I will still look here to understand, okay, what is included?
hmm
Like how deep does it go? Um, Especially on the free side. Like when
yeah,
you're in the free, this can vary widely.
hmm
Uh, but that gets to kind of the heart of what you're going to be getting. It doesn't
yeah,
always tell you everything, but oftentimes you can click on one of these things and see their website display of what's
yeah,
put together. Also, like the popular themes, the developers behind them, like Kevin in this case, like they love talking to people. So asking them questions, this one specifically comes with a couple hours of help out of the gate, including, you know, customizing one of the modules that's automatically included if needed.
yeah,
But and like a part of the value of working with one of these popular themes, uh, and is they're always updating, right?
yeah,
And they're updating it largely because they have to sometimes, like so that they don't leave their customers in the 99 plus templates, like Alexander mentioned earlier, right? Like, how do we keep taking advantage of what HubSpot is giving us? Like, when the videos modules get better, is the theme adjusting to support? Because that's been a challenge for me in the past where it's like, okay, HubSpot just created their own cool module and I want to use that, but it's outside of the theme. So how do I, right? That's where the developers, I do have a developer on hand usually to say, hey, I just need to make this tweak to make it look like this and behave like this in these various, use cases. So um, this is a great place to learn if you just want to understand, what if you've never been to HubSpot before, like you can look at some of these themes and like get your expectations in line for what is possible in a lot of these
yeah,
cases, right?
yeah, definitely. I mean, as you mentioned, and we were already talking about, HubSpot releases a lot of updates almost on a weekly basis, and they're always improving functionality. And you can be sure that if you stick to a premium theme, so a theme that you buy, that the team behind the theme, okay, the team behind the theme, um, will either update the theme pretty quickly if it's a groundbreaking new feature, or if it's a small feature like there was an update to brand kits a few weeks ago, and HubSpot made sure that this update will be inherited to all themes. It doesn't matter if it's a custom theme, a free theme, or a premium theme, or a pro theme, whatever you want to call it. And therefore, you're good to go. And also, I mean, the great or good premium theme developers, um, they are constantly updating their themes, right? And personally, I develop my themes per use case. So the client or company I'm working for with gets a completely tailored theme to their needs, to their requirements. And if you don't want to go this route, fully understandable. And if you want to look for, um, I mean, there are great free themes out there. Don't get me wrong, right? And
Well, we
for
got a good
instance,
question from Joel here. Would free themes cost
yeah,
more in the long run because they won't get the same developer support?
I mean, I would, good question. Mm,
I think that's like for me, I think
it,
it's the wrong kind of frame. Like, because sometimes, a lot of times, the difference between free and paid is because you're at free or starter HubSpot versus professional and enterprise, right? So you have less functionality to take advantage of. So
mhm.
it's not like if you're in a place where like the functionality that you want to use on the platform for me matters a lot in terms of what I'm trying to do, with the
Yeah.
website and whether or not a developer, should be needed more or less. Is that fair?
Yeah, kinda. I would just say that, of course, it depends on what uh tier of HubSpot you are. So, are you on free, starter, professional, or enterprise? There are differences for sure, but all themes that you can buy or download, mm, s- will show you only those options that are available in your particular tier, or the version you have, right? And also there are some um, guidelines for theme developers, like don't include HubDB modules because not everybody can use them. And if somebody who has HubDB, and HubDB is available in professional, Uh, it doesn't mean that they have the exact um, like
The
the
need.
same
It's
HubDB layout, right?
right.
And therefore there is a baseline, so to say, to every theme, and but it depends, right? So for instance, if just from the this screenshot, the Sprocket Rocket free, and I just as an example, right? It has 21 modules, 3 templates and 2 blog templates. This is something that is, I would say, um, aiming for. I'm just getting started with HubSpot. I want to have a very small website, a conversion website, maybe getting started with blogs or blogging, and this is great, right? And on the other hand, there is Sprocket Rocket Pro, which is a completely different experience because it's also uh, an external thing, which is also great, and it gives you a drag and drop editor with their modules, and then you can import it from their service to HubSpot. I mean, there are a
Oh
lot
wow.
of approaches. So,
Right.
um, I mean, clean the power theme, like all the great or a lot of downloaded themes, and you see the installs here at the right side. It's crazy what some developers are putting into their themes, right?
Yeah.
And
That's why like most of the dollar costs that you see,
yeah,
like it's just like if you're gonna pay if you want big things out of your website, like personalized experiences,
yeah,
like managing the whole journey and it's fully integrated with HubSpot, like CRM, like $1,000, like for what you get from these themes, like one time, $997,
hmm
and it includes ongoing updates. Like there is no like comparable. It's very hard to get that kind of value.
yeah,
You know, of course, we're paying for Content Hub licensing at the same time, but
right,
even there, now with the new Content Hub, you're getting all these other things in addition to your website to help make the website, better. Um, Thank you, Dennis, for coming by.
yeah,
It's good to have you. Love how you guys rally together. The developer community in HubSpot is an awesome thing, which is another element to this. Like,
yeah,
even if you don't have like a big budget for development, like there are resources to help you understand and do some self-learning, like to where if you can read code, like this is definitely not necessarily a best practice,
yeah,
but you can find the
yeah,
spots where it's like, okay, it's referencing this field and I
hmm
know how properties work, so I can
yes,
just change the name of the property and it's gonna do, the same thing.
yeah,
Uh, Always with an eye on being careful, with that. But that's where it's like the clonability of everything. You can create these safe spaces to
yeah,
understand how this works and then have the community there to say, hey, I'm thinking it looks like
yeah.
this and it should work like this. Is that actually how it works, or what am I missing here?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
it depends, and if you don't know what we are talking about, there is the community.hubspot.com, which is basically the page, right? And when you go to discussions, you have all things like separated. So if you are looking for develop or help in development, just click on developers. And then I would say most likely on the CMS development, or if you are developing some sort of integration or connection between several tools and HubSpot, it's most likely gonna be in the API and integration filter. And you can just create a post, write your question or your problem, and there are a lot of people in there who are happy to help. And yeah,
Yeah, man. And I think
uh,
that'll keep coming up.
yeah,
And I think that's a good place
yeah.
to wrap today. And maybe next week we can dive a little deeper into custom modules because I think that really connects the dots when we
Oh yeah.
talk about personalization and the power. Like it's not, this is the kind of thing like custom modules is not like, hey, developer, I want to do this crazy thing. So go and tell me, what the scope is going to be, how many hours it's going to take, and what's going to cost for you to keep it up for me, right? It's about using the tools that we have and saying, okay, we can use a couple of, these tools to really create a powerful experience. And smart content, like you mentioned earlier, is really, it's going to be
Yeah,
fun to talk about. And I think
yeah,
it'll be great
definitely.
to
And
share that next week.
this is a whole, I mean, custom modules are a topic for itself, and I'm happy to talk next week about that a bit more in detail. But we could
Yeah,
go with this topic for hours and days and weeks and
right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's mainly
Yeah.
like as we go, we're going to keep talking about themes, templates, modules, probably get into sections and,
Yeah.
columns, rows. Just all these things are the places where if you think you're doing something over here and it's actually over here, that's how you get yourself in trouble in any system, really. Um,
Mm,
but that's our goal with HubSpot is like, if we're at that point, then something bigger is wrong with how we're seeing HubSpot as a website, management platform. So
hmm.
I'm excited, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you stepping up and sharing your knowledge. And we'll be back next week. So until that time, think about what you guys want to do with your websites, find some opportunities, and let's grow. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks everybody.